Hi, everybody. This is Todd Creager. I want to talk to you about another successful couple that I've worked with, help them heal from infidelity. We'll say that their names are Helen and Ron. These are all legitimate couples I've worked with. I'm just changing the names to protect their confidentiality. And Helen had cheated on Ron throughout their relationship, and Ron loved her very much, loves her very much, very doesn't want to break up the family, and yet, of course, was angrier and angrier. And he has some dignity, and he was having a harder time. And he was at the point where, if she doesn't get help for this, she's not going to have me as a husband anymore. I can't do this. Now, look, in every couple, I always say this, and I've said this to you before, is that the people that cheat, they're the ones that are 100% responsible for their choices. But of course, we want to look at the entire relationship and see how they got there, because oftentimes both people have to take responsibility for creating the kind of relationship that the couple can thrive and there's a minimal risk of repeat infidelity. I mean, that's what we want. That's what they wanted. So something that I talk about from time to time, even though I don't think I have in a while, is parent-child patterns in relationships. And what I mean by that is many couples, as time goes on, one person starts to feel more like a parent and the other one feels more like a child. If you get that emotional sense, of course they're not a parent and a child. They're to each other. They're two adults and they're spouses, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever they are. But in this case, she grew up not having much of a voice in her family and had to adapt. And when she got married, she married a guy who was very assertive and very sure of himself. And she, after a while, slipped into that role of being almost like the subservient daughter. But along with being subservient, she would rebel. And the way she rebelled, I think one of the ways she rebelled was by cheating and going outside the marriage. And she would do that. And what she started to realize is that when she was around Ron, she felt younger. She felt like a little girl who was getting told what to do by her husband or criticized by her husband. And likewise, he oftentimes felt like she was this acting out teenager, and she was kind of acting like that, like an acting out teenager that he had to lecture and preach, which didn't help because the more he lectured, now his lecturing was his way of trying to get control over this relationship and talk some sense into her. But what happens with couples left to their own devices oftentimes is when they don't have this knowledge, they just do the very things that maintains and even exacerbates the problem. Because as he lectured her, what did she feel like? She felt like a teenager being scolded or a child being scolded. And so she would then act out the rebellious child. And on some level, she felt some power that she didn't feel in the relationship, but she would feel it by acting out, by cheating with another man. So she really got it, and this is one of the things I do with couples. I help them try to look at the deeper reasons why they do what they do. And in her case, for her, it was power that she didn't feel in the relationship. I'm not blaming him. I'm not really blaming her. I don't blame anybody. I don't like the word blame. What we need to realize is how we slip into these modes, oftentimes for unconscious reasons, which then leads to a domino effect of, which in this case led to infidelity, multiple infidelities. So when I work with them, what we helped her see is how young she felt and that she's slipping into that and she needs to consciously recognize she is not that adolescent girl, that she is an adult and that she has a right to her feelings and opinions, and that if he gets frustrated with her or disagrees with her, it doesn't mean that she shouldn't stand up to him. She also needed to realize that he wasn't this big, mean, I mean, he was a tall guy, but he wasn't a mean guy. He was a guy, a man that has feelings and wants, and she is not, it's not a purpose to to be compliant towards him, like a compliant good child, or rebellious from him, like an adolescent child that acts out. Instead, she can be an adult that could say, I'm not okay with this, or this is what I want. And she also needed to perceive him as someone who has wants and feelings underneath that, even when he would lecture. When he would lecture, because he so much wants to have this. And of course, I work with him to get off that lecturing, which was basically crystallizing this parent-child pattern. They didn't want that. And he needed to speak in I statements. So we helped him say, yeah, I'm hurt when you do this, or I would like you to show that you want to be with me. And she would be able to realize that and not look at him as the daddy who's criticizing her, but as an adult equal, who needed her love. And the more she recognized that, whoa, I'm not lower than him, I'm with him, and the more he was vulnerable and expressed it that way, she started to feel a power with him, a healthy power that she hadn't experienced ever in their relationship. So that dynamic has been practiced and practiced, and they have worked it with communication principles and experiences, and I taught them some I'd say rituals to practice that, and they've practiced this kind of adult to adult experiences when they have to make decisions. She was able to be honest and upfront about the things that she was wanting and what she was getting out of those other relationships, but she knows she cannot act on it because she's an adult that has to choose, and it's not about just her pleasure. It's really about his needs as well. And again, like I said, he's able to express those needs in a much more vulnerable way. So again, when there's infidelity, it takes time. There's a lot of hurt. There's a lot of anger, I should say, on the person who's betrayed. There might be also anger on the person that did the betrayal, and maybe that's part of why they did it. In this case, they both had resentments and anger that they were able to talk about and work through. And then what happens? You see the good underneath. You see the beauty underneath. And most of all, they saw the love underneath. So another successful couple who have been healing from infidelity and catapulting into a new kind of dynamic in their relationship, much more healthy and much more pleasurable. This is Todd Creager, making the world safe for love.